Let's get into it. Episode 715, Soul Not For Sale podcast. We got Tim Kennedy telling Joe Rogan about a topic that I keep telling people to focus on. You know, there is a lot of focus on what's going on in all parts of the world, but there is an invasion of sorts happening right on the southern border. And Tim Kennedy is going to talk about his experience with that because he was on the front lines, seeing everything that's going on. And he discusses in this clip about how many people from the terrorist watch list have entered the country already. The fact that he's a little casual about this, odd to me, but listen to the clip and decide for yourself. Let's get right into it.
We're at the Del Rio River, and there are 400 immigrants trying to cross the river. They have babies up on their shoulders, and the coyotes, the traffickers, every single person that's in the river has paid the cartels to be escorted across the border. Well, concurrently, the cartel is about to smuggle 500 meters up the river, two dudes with bundles of fentanyl on their back. So I'm dealing with this gigantic humanitarian problem of a few hundred people at night trying to cross a dark, cold, flowing water with babies on their shoulders. And what do the coyotes do? The moment that they start getting close to the shore, they just grab the kids down into the drink, down into the water. Babies are floating, little children are screaming. Why would they do this? Because I have to spend resources of my personnel to flood to try to save these immigrants from drowning in the river. And I have to throw a ton of resources and people at them to try and save them so they don't die in the river. At the exact same time, the resources that I have to use personnel-wise here, they're getting guys successfully onto the shore with bags full of fentanyl as they run into the inland, into the interior. And they know exactly what they're doing. They're making money by moving people while they're concurrently making money smuggling drugs and throwing humanitarian crises at us so that they can move drugs simultaneously. And that's hard for people that are trying to do good. How do you choose which problem to attack? We had a service member that dived into the water to try to save a baby, and he drowned. Took us a week to find his body. A Texas National Guardsman dove in there to try to find a baby that had got pushed off, and he drowned trying to save her.
Is it a matter of resources? Is there not enough resources being put into? Well, obviously, this whole thing reeks of. It's so terrible to say, but it seems like this is a concentrated effort and not just from the cartel. It seems like this is something that's being allowed to happen.
The benefit of, there's lots, I mean, that's a hard question.
Right.
Texas has a way different position than the federal government as to the immigration problem. And their approach are almost in conflict. So when you get to like the real bad actors with, sexual trafficking cartel members, drug smugglers, weapon smugglers, of course you're going to see federal assets being leveraged to attack those problem sets. But the large humanitarian problem, the federal government is going to have a way different approach compared to the Texas government. The Texas government is like, no, this is illegal immigration. We have lawful ports of entry. You have to legally come into the United States through a legal port of entry. And then once you are here, we will process you in accordance with what the Department of State says the immigration process is. Because there's a rule, and we're a country of laws, so you have to follow the law. Anything else is illegal. The other side of that coin is the federal approach, which is anybody that makes across the border, you are now here and we're going to process you, which is insanity.
Why do they do that? Do you think they're trying to bring in voters?
Yeah. It grows the government. It's more entitled people that you have to pay, more entitlement programs that you have to pay to support. Those people are immediately shipped into the interior. I find it comical, and I know people think it's not appropriate for the Texas government. They've been shipping immigrants to some of these sanctuary cities that they have said that they're sanctuary cities until they've actually received a lot of immigrants, and they're like, oh my God, we can't handle this number of immigrants.
Yeah.
And it's like 1% of what comes over the border every single day here in Texas that we have to deal with all the time. The Yankees, those north, they have no idea what it's like to be a border state. And the amount, just the tens and hundreds of thousands of people that are coming across every single day, it's criminal that they're allowing it.
And when did it start? When did it ramp up like this? This was never
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Trump put some pretty powerful laws in place and empowered the federal immigration laws for us at the border to have lots of tools to, one, turn somebody away. If you're coming across and you're claiming asylum, well, you have to go back to your country of origin, or you have to go to the country that you're trying to cross from, and that is where you're going to have your asylum process be determined. You're not going to come in, and we're not going to allow you to go to San Diego and get to hang out in San Diego until your court date, which is currently happening right now, right? You make it across. Where are you going? I'm going to San Diego. All right, show up for your immigration court date in a year and a half from now.
And everybody knows this, so that people are just coming across.
That's right,
en
just
masse.
flooding.
It's so wild to watch those videos of just enormous, miles-long lines of people.
Military age men, that it's so heartbreaking. And the men and women, Border Patrol, Department of Public Safety, the Texas National Guardsmen that are working the border, they are so incredible, selfless, hardworking, love America and also love people. They're putting their lives on the line every single day to try to protect these immigrants, but also try to protect the law and the rule of law. And that's a really hard thing to reconcile. Is what is the humane thing to do, and is that in alignment with what is the just thing to do? That's hard, but they're amazing.
And then once people are here and they cross over, there's not a real screening process in terms of who's a criminal, what your history is in your country of origin.
Yeah, you want to get a weird Google thing. Google how many known people on the terror watch list have made it across. And it'll scare the crap out of you. So Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, we have these gigantic lists of people that are on terror watch lists, criminal watch lists, and the number of those that we have captured at the border obviously is just going to be a drop in a bucket of those that have made it across. And, it is in light of what just happened in Israel, where they flew paragliders over borders, over walls, and they crashed through walls, and then they were able to kill 1,400 people in one day. And then you look at the number, and that was 1,000 insurgents total. And then you look at the number of people that have been coming over the border for the past 3 years that we know are radicalized, that we know are on watch lists. It should scare the pants, just scare you to death. The position that we're at. We're going to have a real bad year.
God damn it.
Yeah. Department of Homeland Security and the FBI yesterday, they talked about a bunch of known terrorist cells that are currently not operating. They are operating, but they are looking for opportunities, targets of opportunity to conduct terrorist activities here in the United States. Department of State just released an entire worldwide warning to all Americans traveling abroad, saying that it is dangerous for any American to be traveling anywhere in the world right now with the amount of terrorist cells that have now been activated. Yeah.
Forgive me if I don't understand that last part. So you shouldn't travel outside because so many have activated around the world and inside? Not to sound crazy, but it seems like that would be... You're saying that they're activating outside. You're saying that they're inside. Shouldn't really make a difference. That's just and the last thing you just said there. But also bringing it up quite casually, and then also bringing it up like we're gonna have a bad year. it just makes me ask so many questions, especially when you look at that face. That's not, I don't want to say the unthinkable, but what kind of face is that for what he just said? Man, there's just so many terrorists everywhere. It happens. It's going to be a rough year. What are you talking about? And how do you know? How do you know? See, again, I was asking this question in another episode. How do you know? And what are you doing about it? I love Joe Rogan, and I love Tim Kennedy. I think Tim Kennedy's amazing. As a man, when you hear his story, absolutely fantastic. The things that he's gone through, the growth that he's had. But when I hear stuff like this, I just have to question, what are your motives? You just told, Joe Rogan gets 11 million downloads an episode. You just told 11 million people that it's going to be a scary year. You should be so scared. You shouldn't leave the country. Like, what are you saying? What is he saying? And and then you provide no solution? There's no, you're giving, you have clearance to tell us to be scared for our lives and that it's going to be a bad year, letting us know that that's just happening. You know, same way that you just get ice cream on a Sunday, that's happening, you know? Same way you got to go to the washroom every now and then. Unavoidable, right? You have clearance to do all that by the government. Because like he said in this episode, he said, whatever they tell me to do, and I would say whatever they tell him to say, he will do without question. So you have all that clearance to say all that, but you don't have clearance to say, and this is how we're going to solve it. You don't have clearance to say, we're going to step in and make sure nothing like that happens. None of that. You only have the clearance. You only have the thinking to say it's going to be a bad year. Every single person in the nation should be so scared. There's so many terrorists here. They're just here. They're running around. I don't know, man. I don't know. I always just think of like destabilization, demoralization. Those, for somebody who I would think, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people would counter this, but I would think is an American hero of sorts. He's done so much. And you know, I know he loves the country. But for you to do that, for you to scare people like that, I don't get it. And obviously I want to focus on the border a little bit as well. I mean, those stories, I mean, it's how it's going. Forget the stories, because I don't know. It's so hard with this guy. It seems like there's a lot of truth in what he's saying, but it also seems like there's something else. I don't know what that is. No offense if you ever see this, Tim. I don't want to fight with you. I'm sure you'd hurt me very badly. But yeah, the border is a definite issue. It's a huge issue. Huge issue. And here's the thing. I have to go back to what he just said. You're shipping, like he's kind of bragging about like Texas, like they're shipping them around. And it's like, yeah, they are to the sanctuary cities. But then in the same breath, you know that you've released people who are on a terror watch list. You know that you've released them into these sanctuary cities. What are you talking about? Why is he on Joe Rogan? If that's real and he's a Green Beret, and there are many good men and women in the armed forces, why are you on Rogan right now telling us to be scared instead of out there neutralizing the thing that you think we should be scared of? Does that make sense? Man, you know, I was talking with my buddy, talking about comedians and celebrities and stuff. You know, I often talk about celebrities when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my circle of friends. Shh, don't tell anybody. I usually talk about these celebrities like they're just like puppets. They're meat puppets. You know, they just do what they're told. And I was talking with them about the comedians, you know, and I was like, I don't think there's any celebrity or comedian that you can look up to. You know, and I didn't feel that way like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You always feel like there's like, nah, this one, He's in charge of his stuff. And it just becomes like, maybe not. Are there any? Are there any? Are there any? Man, I have so much respect for Tim Kennedy. But as I keep on doing this, every day I have to think of a bunch of videos, and you don't see them. Like, I make 5 videos a day, every single day, and it's just nonstop. So I'm always looking at things. I'm always thinking of perspective. I'm always watching full interviews. I'm always gaining knowledge in certain things where I didn't have it before. And as I gain more and more, I'm just like, when something doesn't add up, it clicks quickly now, where it used to go a little slower. And this just, why if you, I won't question whether or not he cares about America, because he does. He's Tim Kennedy. He for sure does. He's a Kennedy, for Christ's sake. But why come on such a huge platform and try to scare everybody? And you know what? I saw him doing this on his Instagram as well, where he was almost like prepping people for something terrible to happen. And it's like, why would you do that? Even if you knew. Because if you knew, and you're this Green Beret person who has access to all these people, you have access to Navy SEALs, you have access to all this information, again, why not go after the thing that you think we should all be scared of the best you can? I don't get it. It doesn't help. It doesn't help a population. It doesn't help 11 million people to be told that something bad is going to happen to them. It doesn't help 11 million people to let them know that they're in danger if they leave the country. It doesn't help all those people. Who does that help when you do that? I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to do an episode with my wife, and we're just going to talk about some silly stuff, because this stuff weighs on my head too much sometimes. And I'm just asking questions here. I just want you to ask questions. That's it. You know, why demoralize people when we're already in a state of demoralization? Why destabilize people mentally? Why have people become paranoid? I don't want to become paranoid of everybody who's brown that I see. It's a terrible world to live in. The same way I hate the notion that somebody who's white would come out and be terrified of every person who's black, or every person who's black walks into a room filled with white people and gets terrified that why do that? That's what he just did. But there's also the sense of wanting to be honest. You want to be honest. If you have information and the general public won't receive this information unless you tell them, I guess you want to be the person to tell them. I guess. Look at this. Look at this face. It's like Joe's like, hey man, you like black coffee or milk? And he's like, I'm a cream and sugar guy. You know me. Instead, what he actually said was, there's a lot of terrorists on American soil. Why are you? But again, you know, this guy's he's a vet. He's a vet. So he's been through it. Maybe it's not, you know, in my mind, it's like, that's the scariest thing ever. You should be like so scared. For him, it's like, don't worry. This happens all the time. We catch it. It might be a simple thing for him. You know? I'm definitely not as experienced or grizzled or war tested as Tim Kennedy, not by a long shot. Just, I don't know. I question things. That's all. Anyways, guys, like the video, subscribe for the best and the most Rogan clips of any other channel. Put me to the test. There's no other channel with as many as me. And the best ones. The ones that they won't show you. Anyways, guys, I'm out.